So what we do, and it isn't for everyone. So if you have a 9-to-5 job and you don't have some kind of side hustle already, whether you're selling sneakers or baked goods or handbags or whatever you might be into, if you're not doing something, it'd be the equivalent of someone saying, watching music videos and go, I want to be a music writer or whatever. Well, if you're not already writing poems and being interested in it, it's probably not for you.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Baktari MD. Today, we're going to be continuing our Crash CEO School series, but I have a couple of interesting and amazing guests that we're going to learn a lot about leadership, organizational skills, and how to move to the next level. Really, really great show for you. Today, I'm going to have Mike Merrigan and Bo Kort, who are best friends, business partners, and they've been in the real estate and many other fields for many years. They've acquired hundreds of properties and own over 43 companies. Boy, there's so much here. But they're really two small town guys from Arizona who have really decided that in life they want more. They want more for themselves, for their families, and have really reached the pinnacle of success by acquiring and growing many, many companies over many years. So they're not your typical financial gurus, but I think they have a lot of information to share for people, especially people who have been on the fence about becoming an entrepreneur and just finding their own path, whether it's personal financial success and growth or acquiring new skills. I think, in talking with them before the show, I got the impression that they really, really have found the secret to growing yourself professionally and financially and achieving goals that you never dreamt of. So we're going to have them on and they're going to share with us the secret to doing all this. I'm very excited. All right, Mike and Bo, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. Definitely. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Well, there's so much to cover, but why don't you both just start off briefly and tell everyone a little bit about your background? I know there's much, and then let's grind into some of the specifics of how people can learn from you.
Good, Mike.
Alrighty. I started off really young, and Mo did a bit also. My last job, I was 18 years old, working valet at a casino here locally across our river here. But I always had an entrepreneur spirit. When I was young, I was always doing the bake sales or lemonade stands, and it just progressed from there. After high school, I knew I didn't want to go to college. I just wanted to get into business. I had a family, second-type cousin that went to a funeral. He wanted to expand those video stores. I came back, did all the research, opened up a video store. A year later, bought them out and opened up a small chain of video stores after that. Got into the laundromat business because my wash machine broke down. Checked out the competition, realized they needed more laundromat, so got into that. Started vending wash machines and dryers, opened multiple locations. Started car wash, laundromats, and then I realized after all these businesses in retail, I loved retail, but I realized the landlord was always the happiest person because no matter who came and went, they always still had the building there to lease out to someone else with the next great idea. So my brother and I started buying up real estate and getting involved in that. My brother came along later. We've always been best friends, and he was building clothes. We got into other real estate ventures, and we just kind of blowing it up from there.
Okay.
I was going to say I'm a few years younger than Mike, but the way that I first, Mike's got a younger brother and an older brother. His older brother, Dino, is out in Texas and handles a lot of the real estate acquisitions and managing the properties that we own out there together. But I got to know Mike because it was odd. He's 5 or 6, 7 years older than I am. He was actually in Rotary Club with all the old cats, all the OGs in town. And so they were all in their 40s and 50s, and Mike was 19 years old. So it was in there, and I remember my dad talking about it, like, hey, this Mike Merrigan guy, I go to school with his younger brother, Joey. But I always, honestly, a lot of times I use Mike as like a mentor,
Yeah.
Dad and his buddies that were in business. So I always knew that I wanted to get into business. So I ended up getting into the bed distribution company, delivering bed to casinos and grocery stores around town, kind of blew that company up, sold half of it off, still own the other half of it. Got into building swimming pools, construction, and like Mike said, probably 15 years ago, we started doing business together, started acquiring real estate, and we're both just serial entrepreneurs. I mean,
right.
enough. Once we get something under escrow, it's like, where's the next one? And then we're building our team and scaled to 43 companies and a ton of real estate.
So as I'm hearing this, you always hear about addicts being addicted to that dopamine surge of getting their next fix. So what you guys have done really is turn, addiction that normally goes to bad stuff to improving the lot of your lot and your family's lot. Is actually a very interesting way, because I think you guys have used the term scratch the next itch. That's really how addicts talk, really, because if you really think about it, and this is what a constructive way to lead your life, where you can use that power of addiction, the dopamine rush of doing the next great deal to really impact your families in ways that they could never dream of. So I like to hear that. So let's circle back a little bit, because I want to talk about what people at home would want to know. And I think the first thing is for people, especially for people who have 9-to-5 jobs, and they say, well, I can't think of a business. I can't think of a business to, so circle back to what some people at home would want to know is, people who are working 9-to-5 and they want to know, I don't know anything about business. I don't know of a good business, and I want to go and pick a business. Where do I start? Now, in talking with you guys, you're driving by someplace and you see something, you have a conversation with someone. But for the typical person at home, how do you go about evaluating what industry you want to go into, what business? You guys have been in, laundry, video, construction, pool. Someone says, that sounds like a potpourri of a bunch of stuff. How do I pick something if I want to get started?
For me, I think Bo and I talk about being self-aware quite a bit. So what we do, and it isn't for everyone. So if you have a 9-to-5 job and you don't have some kind of side hustle already, whether you're selling sneakers or baked goods or handbags or whatever you might be into, if you're not doing something, it'd be the equivalent of someone saying, watching music videos and go, I want to be a music writer or whatever. Well, if you're not already writing poems and being interested in it, it's probably not for you. What we do is be entertaining now because it's a popular thing to be as an entrepreneur, but it's not for everyone. So decide, if you can't sleep and you're miserable because of the job you have and you just have to get it, now we can talk. But if it's something because it's popular, don't do it. Stick to your 9-to-5, go buy a Ford Rex, stay in that lane, get it paid off in 15 years, you got some travel money later on. And we've got your retirement and everything's fine. But if it's something that you have to have, now we can talk.
So
it's you have to grind. It's gonna be a lot of work, and people with balance in their life, especially starting out, if that's important to you, we don't have much to talk about.
Tell me about that. What do you mean balance in their life? Expand on that.
Because when you start out, if it's a real business that you're going to grow, you're going to have to feel some pain. You're making sausage, baby. No one likes making it. Bo and I like making the sausage. The dirty part of business is fun, it's exciting, it's challenging, it's go, 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 go. But if you don't like football practice, you probably shouldn't try to be a football player.
Yeah.
Practice before the game.
Okay, I think you touched on several things, and I'm just going to tell you like 3 podcasts that I did, and I'm just going to give you the title of them, and then I think you could expand on it. One, this whole idea of work-life balance. Like people like, look, I got to keep a 9-to-5 because I need work-life balance. That phrase, work-life balance. Or I know you're ready to jump on that, but hold on. Yeah. For me, those are trigger words, but okay. But work-life balance, let's talk about that, because I always hear that. And this whole thing is, when I get home, the emails have got to stop. I can't always be on. So I have this whole thing that there's, if you want to do what you guys do, you're on all the time. There's no such thing. It's not a full-time job. It's an all-the-time job. And that doesn't mean you're working all the time, but it means you're on. So this whole concept that if you want to elevate your game, even inside of a corporation, you're like an entrepreneur, that you're going to have to always be on. And this whole idea is you're doing this so later on, like you said, when you finally pay off the fourplex, then you can have some semblance of work-life balance according to the current definition. So in my podcast, I talk about, if you really want work-life balance, why don't you work towards it? Meaning, get that fourplex. And so you want to expand on that, this whole idea of work-life balance. And, I don't want to be answering emails after 5 o'clock, and talk about it. And when people come to you, how do you address that?
Yeah.
And then now what you're able to do.
It's just like with anything. It's like not like all of a sudden one day you flip the switch and you have that work-life balance. You have to figure it out. Mike's in a situation with his wife. We both got fantastic lives, families, everything. His wife probably cares less about things as much, and my wife cares a lot more. So it's easier for Mike. Mike can show up right now in 15 minutes at his house and say, "Hey, we're flying to Texas. I forgot to tell you. We planned it 2 weeks ago." And his wife won't say jack shit to him. You're tripping out.
Right.
I'm going to be proactive, because whenever I first started, I was an entrepreneur. I was in the bread distribution company. You get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you deliver the bread, and you don't stop till the bread's delivered. And my wife would show up at the grocery store with our baby at 7 o'clock at night and go, "You left at 3 this morning. It's 7 at night. What are you doing?" That literally happened. Yes.
Oh, no.
Years of just going, "Stay with me on this. Stay with me on this. We'll get through these times." And today, she's as thankful as she can be about it. She's like, "I get it, honey. I mean, I see now everything that you were working for and the vision that you have, and it's played out for us. And we've got so much freedom to do what we want when we're not. And my kids are going to have that generational wealth that's going to get passed down to them, and give them a lot of any opportunity that they want to take." And so the work-life balance thing, there are, there's workarounds, but so many times you hear people go, "Yeah, I can't meet with you on Tuesday because I'm booked." Well, what does booked mean? Get up an hour earlier or stay an hour later. And Mike and I work 14-hour days, and it's not like it's a grind. We never go home and talk about how it's a 14-hour day. You're
Right.
man a day to us, and we enjoy what we're doing. So that's one big thing about it too. You gotta enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's a grind, but it's like going to the gym. Just the fact of finishing what you do there, it feels a sense of accomplishment. That's the way I feel every day whenever I go home.
And then there's the time period of everything he just said. Is then you get to the point where you can pull off the throttle. Yeah. And he just got back from Costa Rica. Took 15 family members to Costa Rica. All the waiters, the in-house services, everything else. Staying at the top of the mansion, whatever. Do whatever you want. Gets back 2 weeks later. He's on a cruise for another month with the wife and him just taking a trip. So you can do those things if that's what you want to do. But in order, you can want that. But if you're not willing to put in the work, that story he told me, he's probably 24 when the baby shows up at the grocery store at 7 o'clock at night. But if you're in a relationship where you're not going to be allowed to do what you want to do, he did that because that's what he wanted to do, needed to do. And the things I do is because I need to do them. It's just, you can't stop me. It's just, that's what I want to be doing. I want to be doing those things. So once you have that burning desire and you recognize it, just surround yourself with people that can support you, including your spouse, that can support what you're trying to get done.
But I want to move past this, but let me just add one last thing. So I come to you and say, I have a 9 to 5, I think I want to be an entrepreneur. What do you want to ask me that tells you that I got what it takes, or it's just something I wish? But can you feel it when you talk to people? If they're a younger Bo or a younger Mike, what are the tip-offs that, this guy's got it, I just need to coach him, versus this guy doesn't want to do the hard work?
I have some family members that are in the 12-step program, and we might be there at a waiter or something. I'm not recognizing anything, and my brother will say, "Oh, he's in the program." I go, "What do you mean he's in the program? How do you know that? He just brought us bread and da-da-da." And then he goes, "I can just tell by the way he said or whatever." And so my brother go, "Hey, I got 35 years cleaner. How about you?" "Well, I got 12 months cleaner, 12 years." They just know. So when we're in a room with entrepreneurs, like-minded people, it don't take long to realize that's the cat right there.
Yes.
Wow.
That's the guy, right? Yeah, it happens all the time. He's got a great story. He's talking to me. This is going back 8 years ago. Yeah, 7 or 8 years ago. He's talking to me on the phone. 5 phone calls a day between us, or 10, whatever it is. And he goes, "Weird, I gotta go." He goes, I just went to the McDonald's drive-thru for a quick burger or whatever. He goes, "I'm watching this dude out here cleaning up the trash around there and spraying down the trash can." He goes, "I gotta go talk to him. He's a badass." He goes over there, talks to the guy. The guy ends up working for him. His dad ended up working for him. And the other family member, it's just that he recognized it just at the drive-thru, seen something in someone talking to us. "Dude, if you ever want more out of life, I can start you out at this," or whatever. Sure shit, this guy comes knocking on his door. guy's doing today, doing killer, but it just, you know what I mean? So you recognize those things, you recognize like-minded people, and it's not for everybody. And since this is a rare thing that you can be an entrepreneur and be successful at multiple businesses, you can kind of tell.
Yeah.
You don't always get it right, but you can't, you know, it's...
So your spidey sense. Okay, let's move on because we have so much more to cover. Let's go back now to actually picking a business. You guys said something interesting offline, that when you go to evaluate a business, it's not all the pro forma and the financials. You look for other intangibles. So let's say I'm looking for a business and I come to Mike and Bo and say, okay, I've got a sector. I'm kissing a lot of frogs. I'm looking at 40, 50 businesses in the laundromat area and the video store area when they were video stores, whatever. What am I looking for besides the financials, all things being equal?
Honestly, you've said it many times. It's personnel. But the thing about it is, obviously, the company's got to make money. You got to see the opportunity. You got to check out the financials, all of that. But one thing that we know is when you own 43 companies, how much time can Mike and I actually put into that company? So we're either going to partner with someone or we're going to have a great manager. And if they're a really great manager, eventually they're going to be a partner of ours. And so we're open to partnership, but we're always looking for that special person. So there's got to be enough bang for the buck too. And everything that you do in your work today, you know, in the 14-hour day that we're going to put in today, I need to make sure that I'm maximizing my value in everything that I do today. Every minute of every day, I got to be making sure that I do that. So I'm looking for people that also have that same mindset to be able to maximize their efficiency of the abilities that they have every day. And they've got to breed a culture and have the same mindset to do that with their staff underneath. So if it's a business that doesn't generate enough revenue for the effort that we got to put forth into it, then we don't get into it. So there's got to be enough topside on it. When we first started buying real estate, guess what size real estate we bought? $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 buildings. Now we buy $1 million buildings because we realize for our effort and our time that we're going to put together, we're still serial entrepreneurs where everything looks good and we're just puppy dogs just running around, you know, looking at real estate, and, you know, it's hard to pull our hands back from grabbing the next $300,000 or $400,000 deal. But you got to make sure that you're getting the most bang for the buck of every minute of your dough, and the people within that business are doing the same for you.
And when we're coaching people up today, also everything you just said, I agree with, and I wish someone would have, you know, there was no coaching back then. There was Tony Robbins, which obviously a much younger man, and in my mind, he was like a motivational guy. Oh, neither one of us need any motivation. And then there's the late night televisions where 1-800-GET-RICH-QUICK things. So there was nothing like the internet now, and the reaching out and the possibilities. But one thing that Bo and I know we wish we would have concentrated more on it younger was, what's the exit plan? And is it scalable? Because we have gotten in businesses that aren't scalable, and our desire, and it's not for everyone. Someone may just want one business and build it with their family. They want to work there, and, you know, that's great. But we wanted more. So there has to be, for us, what's the exit plan? We wish we would have figured that out a little bit sooner. And we wish we would have recognized scalable businesses from non-scalable businesses earlier. So we would sit down with somebody and go, what's your goal? I want a place where my wife and kids can work and we can just all grind out together. A lot of opportunities there. Hey, guess what? I want to own 15 of these and whatever. I want to grow these taco stands across the nation. Different person, different situation. So we'd like to find out, and then how are you going to get out of this? Because sometimes businesses aren't that sellable. If we want to sell the storage complexes, guess what? We're going to get a letter today and a phone call today. Almost every single day, someone calls us wanting to buy a piece of property. So those are easy to get out of. I own furniture stores. They're not easy to get out of. It's just, it's brick and mortar on the side of the road with furniture. It's not that attractive. It's not that fun. It doesn't attract enough people to want to come in and buy it.
Well, I mean, like equity firms will come and buy a storage place, but they're not going to come buy a furniture store, just to give you an idea. So I hear what you're saying. But it sounds to me that, to rephrase what you're saying, any endeavor you're going to go into, besides the cost, is going to require some brain damage. It's going to require a certain part of your brain bandwidth. So the question is, if I got to put in this bandwidth and brain damage into this, besides getting the business, if it was also scalable, it makes my initial brain damage or the amount of bandwidth, it makes it worth it. So if I have a certain bandwidth, I can only do so many projects, and I have only so many hours in the day. So even if three things have the exact same pro forma, but one is scalable and one is easier to get out of, that will trump even maybe something with slightly even better performer or financials, because I'm going to have to put the same amount of energy and time into it. But in terms of multiplying my exit and potential, you're going to look. So it's a very interesting point, because I think when people evaluate businesses, as I think it's great for people who are watching this to understand, you can't just evaluate a business based on the current numbers necessarily. Of course, that's going to be very important, but also say, where can I take it and how quickly can I exit? And is there an exit? So I'm glad you said that.
eNational testing makes getting a simple laboratory test as easy as ordering something online. With 3 simple steps, you can have your tests ordered for STDs, general health, allergy testing, diabetes screening, blood titers, and more. You can simply go in for testing the same day and get your results quickly to your email. eNationalTesting.com's complete healthcare panels come with easy-to-understand results at over 2,700 locations nationwide. It's time to focus on yourself. eNationalTesting.com. Easy, convenient, and tailored to your health needs.
Which then, let's talk about exiting. So you're into the business, and you got 40 storage places, and you're thinking about exiting. What goes into that? I mean, why not do 80 storage and then exit? Why exit at 40? Why not exit at 50? What are the calculations? Is it when the amount of grief and headache is more than the revenue, or is it at this point, you're going to get the optimal money anyway, and growing it more is not going to add a whole lot more. So talk about some of those calculations in broad terms of when to exit one of these and what you look for.
I can say exactly what it is, because this guy says it about every week. He's going to pick the option that is going to make him the most amount of money by the time he turns 82 years old. So it's just a matter. He's chasing the dollar. So if it makes sense, and we're gaining equity and it's cash flowing, then we'll run it for a long time. If it's something that our money is tied up and we could actually use that money that's sitting in equity to take down another business or another larger piece of property that we can get a better return on, then it's time to move on. So a lot of it's based on the other opportunities that you have out there.
And then scalable is part of it too, and when to sell. For me, I know that I recognize, and you got to put in some years before you start recognizing patterns in your life, but I do get a little bit bored after about 10 years in a business. I find myself like, I'd rather be doing this, so I don't really love the day-to-day operations of running companies. I like starting them and building them, and the real estate's like that too, because you're starting the deal, you're working the deal, so that must be what it comes from. But as far as the day-to-day of managing furniture stores or anything else, it kind of is like, I'd rather be building. So as long as the business is growing and there's growth and there's where it goes scalable, then we're likely to stay into it. One thing, just circling back a little bit of the conversation, is when I exited out of the laundromats, it was 12 years and everything was great. There was no competition pressure or anything. Mm-hmm. Business. I decided to sell. I just wanted out. I just, got tired of it. Wanted to move on to something else. A few years later, I get a call from a young lady, and a couple of were wanting to buy my furniture store, and they came to move a laundromat. One that I'd already sold, and it had sold again since then. So they came to me and asked me for my advice. Sure, come on in. We talked to them. But one thing I was going to say is, don't go to experts or people if you're not going to use their advice. We're not going to hire an else we're going to use the advice. But so they came to me, hey, where's what the numbers say? This is not. I go, good, I'd love to help you. Get me their water bill. I go, with their water bill, I already owned it. I started from scratch. I know exactly. The IRS, that's how they catch people stealing money in laundromats. And you figure out how many machines they have, how many gallons they use per wash, and how much they charge per wash. It's a simple math problem. I knew exactly how much he was making, and he was lying by a lot trying to sell it to these ladies. And I told him, I go, hey, you're not being honest, which is unusual in a business. You try to get the most you can, right? But I go, he's way off, and the business in the area, and they didn't maintain it. Everything had gone down. So I go, he's lying. Don't buy it. Well, they went and bought it. They lasted 6 months.
Oh, no.
Because I couldn't have been clearer. But, hey, this is how much he says he's making, but this is how many gallons of water he's using. He's lying. Run. And they did. And so I don't know any of the details, and it's none of my business. But it's just an observation.
The point that Mike's getting across to is whether it's real estate or business, and we talked about it earlier, is don't get emotionally tied up.
Yes, they had which animal get, and they're emotionally. I got to get this business here, like you described some of the ones. You don't do that.
No, exactly. You get emotionally tied up, and you can only buy a building once. You can only buy a building once.
Business once.
Business once.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's then transition to, you guys do mentoring. I've already heard like people come into your office. Someone's coming to your office today. Talk to me about how you talk to people and realize they're going to take your advice, they're not going to take your advice. Meaning, are there some people who are more amenable to being mentored versus other people? Some people always want to be the smartest guy in the room, no matter who they're talking to. Like they could be sitting in your office and you tell them something, they, like if Michael Jordan's teaching you how to shoot a basketball, there is no comeback. I mean, if Michael says, listen, this is how you hold the ball before you shoot, I'm not going to come back and say, well, hold on, Michael. I do it slightly differently. What are you talking about? You're like, shut up. And so when you're in front of those people and you're like, okay, let me tell you about buying this laundromat, or let me tell you about buying a fourplex. Do you evaluate whether they're coachable or not, and the different levels of coachability? How do you deal with that? How do you struggle with them? Do you just call them out and say, listen, I can't help you? Sounds like, like you're the smartest guy in every room and I just can't help you? Or I see you're laughing. Or
we got two different ways, and we're both chasing as fast as we can, but we got different ways of going about it. Mike is a machine gun. He's going to put it down your throat. He's going to tell you all the dirty work that it's going to take to be an entrepreneur. He's going to tell you everything about it. Well, I'm probably one of them that's like, I might go right and come back and go left on them, just to have a different approach, like get them to admit that they're not really wanting it as bad as what they're saying that they want it. Well, Mike is just going to give them the cold, hard truth and take it. Or don't.
Yeah. And one thing, we had two good examples of local people coming to us. One of the furniture suppliers in the furniture industry, which is my age, was asking me about, hey, could I set up a meeting with you? I'm like, sure, but he didn't want to meet at the first show, wanted to come to our office. So, okay, fine. And so he's asking me about all the real estate we own and how we buy them and whatnot. And as we're talking, and I'm looking, I've known this man for years, we've never had this type of conversation. It's always about what he's trying to sell me is the supplies or the furniture. But I looked at him and go, oh, wait, he's scared. He doesn't have anything other than his job of selling. And when he quits selling, his income's going to stop and he's panicked. And so I looked at him and go, whoa, okay, I get it now. So maybe we start out with a duplex or a fourplex and try and coach him up that way and, break down those barriers while he keeps his job. And, so Rod happened. Fast forward right now, it's probably about 18 months ago. He's never done nothing. At the same exact time, a father-son came to us just at about the same time. The old cat that I've known for years, Bo's known him for years, great guy, worked his ass off in a blue-collar type business, and he was able to save like $1.3 million. And he had a great son, or has a great son, that's taken over the business with his dad, and he's not a hand-me-down kid. He's the worker, man. He's brilliant. He's better than his dad, smarter than his dad, and as much hard work as his dad. We're partners now, and dad is hanging on that 1.3 like the Hope Diamond, getting 1% return. Young son's watching us and everything was happening, other entrepreneurs and everything was happening. So he sets up a meeting with his father, son, and they go, what are you guys doing and how you doing it? We coached them up in one day, one conversation, told them how, go back to your Rolodex on your desk, because I know you still got one. And in there, you've been in business for 30, 40 years in this town. Find me a road buy that has an own building that quit going to his business because he just had done. He went home and did exactly that. Called me up the next thing, hey, we found something. 2 days later, they were in escrow, they bought it, and they killed it. They're on the first thing. But they were hanging on that money so tight, and the young son brought them both in. So I didn't know that they were going to go do that day after coaching, and I didn't know that the other guy was never going to do nothing. So we try to help out, and you got to take the ball and run. I can hand it to you or help you, but the ball can't make someone do something.
There's no anywhere.
Right, so we never know. But when someone keeps coming back and that happens and they never do nothing, we don't have time for you anymore because you didn't do anything about it.
Right.
But we're going to talk to them with, hey, let's get you our second building. So it's fun to help people.
Yeah,
With-
well, you guys are
One-
doing amazing. I tell you, there are not many people who their door is open, who are successful and say, "Hey, our door is open. You want to come in for a quick conversation? We're here to help you." That really commend you guys. Let's just I want to cover a couple more things. I want to just go back to one thing because I realize that people may want to know more about this. You said earlier that in picking a business, you look for businesses that are scalable. In broad terms, if someone wants to know, like, okay, define for me, obviously, more locations, whatever, but how do you know a business potentially is more scalable versus not scalable? Are there any telltale signs that you look for? You just study the industry. So if someone says, well, scalable, how do I know? What are the telltale? Is there any broad advice you could give people on identifying things that are more scalable than others?
For instance, like just like the small construction company, there's just so many businesses that takes the owner to be there, or you just get a lot better product when the owner is on site or is in the hand and takes care of the customization of whatever that product is and whatever needs to be done. And that could be a restaurant, and not that restaurants can't be scalable, but a lot of businesses, they're hard to scale. So as opposed to a Taco Bell or a small franchise. So someone that wants something scalable, I love the franchise concept. Could you make this so someone of normal intelligence could repeat this over and over again, and it's still profitable enough for a manager and profits? That's scalable to me. And so not everybody wants to be scalable, but if you do, make sure that it is scalable, because a lot of times when it takes the hands of a special artistic type person, that's not a scalable business, So
Right.
There's a lot still out there. Maybe it's dry cleaning. It's not impossible that it's not scalable, but who's getting their dry cleaning? Someone did come to say, should I buy the local dry cleaner? I'm like, hell no. First of all, clothes are so cheap anymore, they throw them away. No one gets nothing dry wash. It's casual Friday every damn day anymore. So I wouldn't get into that business. So I'd coach them up on something like that. But if you be scalable, what are your interests? What can help you find?
And again, going back to the people within the business, I had a meeting with a guy that wants to sell his business to me 2 weeks ago. And when I met with him, he didn't realize what a disservice he was doing to sell me his business whenever he was telling me. But he's like, well, yeah, my main estimator, he's been trying to retire the last 2 years, so he's probably only got about a year left. And I go, well, who else is doing your estimating? He goes, I really don't have anybody. And then he goes, and then I do this, and then I do that. And then I'll go dig the pools, and I'll go take care of this. And once in a while, I got to drive to Phoenix to go pick up this. So he's telling me all of the lows and how whenever I buy his company, I'm going to no longer have him, and I'm going to no longer have his estimator, and I'm no longer going to have this person or that person. So guess what?
You got nothing. You got nothing.
I found out.
He's got a phone number.
Yes. I'm looking for a business that I can turnkey, and that baby is going because the people are already, the culture's there, the scalability is there because of the culture of the company and the people that are in it.
Yeah.
No, I got it. I mean, I guess taking it to this logical conclusion, like, for example, you wouldn't buy an attorney's practice because it's all tied to the attorney. So the more the business is tied to the product being more or less the owner or some of the key players, the less scalable it's going to be because of that issue alone. So above and beyond what the industry looks like, and if there's more other opportunities, what I'm hearing from you guys is if it's very tied into the personalities in the leadership and they're doing the bulk of the work anyway, versus there's just the managers, that makes you a little more scared of diving into those kind of business. That's really great. I want to cover one more thing, which I love about how you guys operate, which is finding undervalued business opportunities. This whole idea of undervalued, I mean, who wants to find an overvalued business property, right? Or business opportunity? Like, no one says, I'm out there looking for. So, I mean, on some level, people say, of course. I mean, why not? But you must mean something above and beyond what everyone normally would look for, because no one runs out and buys an overvalued business opportunity. So when you say that, what are the things that the average person may not understand about identifying undervalued business opportunities?
I'd say there's kind of like two sides to it. One is when people just don't charge enough and they don't value their service or their product to charge the appropriate price for it. So if they should be charging $1 and they're charging 75 cents, I know the day that I buy that business, I'm going to not charge 75 cents. I'm charging $1 for it. And I say it all the time. I said, charge like a badass and be a badass. And if you do that, people will buy your product. The other thing is if I can improve that product to get $1.25 for it. So that's the other side of it, is are they undervaluing it for the product or the service that they're performing? And then what are they leaving on the table still that they could be value adding that much more to that product to get more? It's happened with us in storage, huge.
Yeah. The thing that what people don't understand is our mantra, whatever you want to call it, is we buy properties 30% undervalued, the cash flow in 90 days. And we've done it hundreds of times. 150 properties we still own. And we keep everything we buy. We have sold some, we have done some flips. But generally speaking, the first building we ever bought, we still own. So with that in mind, what people don't realize is this country is filled with 70 and 80-year-old guys that are done. And they're stuck with their properties. Maybe they're an AC guy. They know every single thing about AC and how to get the trucks out there and all this, but they don't know real estate. And so they close down their company, they quit going to their machine shop or whatever it is, they're this age, and the building's sitting there. So we always call it death, distressed, or divorce. All three of those, the 3 Ds, gets it at 30% off.
Either business or real estate.
And real estate, most people, when they work these in their 30s and 40s, a storage complex, a fourplex, whatever it is, they turn 70, 80, they become friends with these people. They get their checks personally. They don't have a website. They don't have automation. And they know these people. And they never raise their rates. And what happens is we go in there and a lot of times we give them their asking price because we've locked them door. We're not going through realtors half the time. We've knocked on the door, we befriended them, and we ask them what they're going to do with their building. And do they want to retire? Do they want to sell it? And if they say no, maybe, or whatever, we always circle back. We keep listening to what they say, and we come back, and we're very patient. And we build those relationships, like Bo said. And those old guys just want to sell their buildings, and they want to sell it to someone like us because they're emotionally attached, and they want to see what we're going to do with the properties. We're going to reskin the building. We're going to paint it. We're going to do this. And a lot of times they've already made their money. So it's owner financing. They don't want to give it to Biden or anybody else. They want to keep their money. They don't need it. And so they'll take a lower down and they'll sell it at a price. And they don't know that all the prices have gone up so much since they quit looking that there's so much meat on the bone that we can usually buy them for 30% undervalued, do the remodel, fix up, add value, and in 90 days, lease it back out. And it's positive cash flow. We will not buy a building that breaks even. We don't do it.
Wow. I hope people listen to everything you just said right now, especially in the last 5 minutes in terms of an approach. Let's talk one last thing, which is before you find that, because I want everyone to have the whole picture. Before you find that property and befriend this old guy, whatever, talk about the work that's going to go into identifying that one property. Because I think, like you said, I want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Maybe, but I don't want to go into the gym 8 hours a day, right? That's what's keeping me from looking like Arnold. So in terms of this analogy of this being Arnold Schwarzenegger, finding this one property, getting a 30% undervalue, enrolling this guy into your vision, befriending him, getting him to do owner financing. It's not like the first guy you knock on their door is going to say, yes, I'm an 80-year-old guy and I haven't raised my price. These are lots of criteria to fill. And so someone listening like, well, okay, so I just have to one Sunday go find that guy? No, talk about what it's going to take, the amount of shoe leather, footwork, time, effort, but then, of course, the payoffs. Can you talk about that? Because I don't want to make it sound like, this Sunday, go ahead and do what Mike and Bo just told you to do.
So I'll take it from here. The majority of the time what happens is people have excuses. So one is going to be they don't know where to start or how to start. So that's going to be the excuse that they never get off their ass to go do it. The other thing is going to be that they don't have the money. Well, let's say that you did have the money. Well, if you don't have the knowledge, then money is never the issue. Everyone always says that it's the money. Believe me, when we first started out, we had deals, but guess what? I'd look at him and go, dude, where am I getting money? He goes, we'll figure it out. If it's a good enough deal, and guess what? We always figured it out. Well, we conjured it together from our own businesses or got a hard money lender or whatever we did. So most people are going to have the excuse that they don't know how to start and they don't have the money. But there's no excuse today. I mean, go back when we were in our 20s. There was no YouTube. There was no internet. We just had to do it by asking the old guy down the street that owned the business, try to get as much knowledge as you could from him. And half the time, he didn't know shit either, But now there's so much information out there that educates yourself. Right now, if you do want to do it, if you're 20 years old, if you're 25, if you're 45 and you want to do it at some point, start educating yourself right now. There's so much good information out there to just understand how it works. The other thing, a way of educating yourself is just get out and start knocking on doors. Get with realtors, find out what it takes to buy that property. Go to your local community bank, understand what it takes to finance that. Analyze the properties. There's so many different ways to analyze properties and stuff to see what the value of that property is, to see if it's a good deal, to see if it'll cash flow. Well, what is cash flow? What is home money? What is owner carry? All that information's there.
Right.
Well, back years ago, you couldn't figure it out.
The other thing is what we coach people is what the person you just described. How do you do this? 30% of writing a list. First of all, the internet is worldwide, so you're looking at stuff that may or may not be true, blah, blah, blah. So keep it simple, stupid. Go home, draw a 5-mile circle around your house. Find out what you want to be, light industrial storage, fourplexes, and learn every single thing about the 5-mile radius. It's 5 miles and how many biplexes or fourplexes. How much is the rents going for? What side of the 5 miles do I want to be on because you get more for money? So figure out, stay in your lanes. Keep it you're close to home so you can just drive down and take a look at it because you might end up owning it and then it's just right down the street. And you can marriage that. You can think about it. You buy something in Iowa because for some guy online, hey, buy 150 homes. Bullshit. Buy one. But keep it in your neighborhood. Drive there. Learn the research. Get to know a realtor, just like he said. Learn the vacancy rates. That's easy to figure out. What are they going for? How many people are moving to your area? If you're in a shrinking area, move. You're build. If you're in a growing area and you draw a 5-mile circle, how many fourplexes are? And it's not that hard, but you got to shrink it down and buy your first one and take action and figure it out later.
I love it. I love it. Mike and Bo, someone's listening to all this and they don't get motivated and get up tomorrow morning and take control. I don't know what else what we can do for them. This is such amazing advice, such amazing input. Mike and Bo, do you want to tell people how they can learn more about you guys? What if they're really interested in getting involved or just learning from you guys? What do you recommend people do?
Honestly, you can follow us on every platform: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. So I could say DM us on Mike and Bo for Instagram, or a real simple way of doing it is just shoot us a text. Shoot us a text at 928-605-4335. Real simple number, 928-605-4335. Shoot us a text. We'll get back to you right away. Let you know what we have to offer. We love coaching people up. We love talking business.
That's it. So Zach, the main guy in the office there, he'll get back to you. And we'll eventually end up hooking up. But we love helping people. It's all about spreading it. It's we get just as much out of giving as you do. So it feels good to help other people, man.
I love it. And we'll put all that in the descriptions too, all your contact information and everything, and we'll spread the word. But I want to thank you both. It's so refreshing. I meet a lot of successful people. It's just nice to meet successful people who have this burning desire to give back and share what they've learned. And I think if I'm reading between the lines correctly, you guys are putting out the product you wish you had when you were coming out. Like if that's the best way to make a product, right? Say, I want to put out what I would have liked to have had, when I was 24 or 23. And I kind of sense that from talking to you for this past hour. You guys have been very gracious with your time, and I really enjoyed working with you. Hopefully we can do this again in the future, but I want to thank you both for all the time. I know you're busy. It means a lot that you came on our show. We'll pass the word around, and we'll do this again, hopefully in the future. By the way, thanks everybody for watching. If you like this content, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode of Baktari MD. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
I appreciate it.